Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, winds howling, rain lashing down, and lightning splitting the sky. Now imagine having the power to control it. Sounds like a scene from a fantasy movie, right? But what if first told you that ancient civilizations believed they could do just that? They were the original weather engineers, using rituals and ceremonies to tame the skies. In this video, we are diving into the fascinating world of ancient weather control. We'll explore the rituals they performed, the tools they used, and the beliefs that drove them. You might even pick up a trick or two to control the weather in your own life. So, are you ready to harness the storm? Let's get started. Origins of weather fear. Explain why storms were seen as divine anger and ultimate destructive force. Ancient civilizations often found themselves at the mercy of the elements, and storms were among the most feared natural phenomena. The sheer power and unpredictability of storms made them seem like manifestations of divine anger. People in these times didn't understand the science behind weather patterns. They saw the sky darken, winds howl, and lightning strike without any apparent cause. This lack of understanding led them to attribute these events to the whims of gods or spirits. For instance, in many cultures, thunder was believed to be the voice of an angry deity, and lightning was seen as a weapon wielded by these divine beings. The destructive force of storms only amplified this fear. When a storm hit, it could wipe out entire crops, destroy homes, and even claim lives. This devastation was often seen as a punishment from the gods. In some societies, people believed that they had angered the deities through their actions, and the storm was a direct consequence. This belief was reinforced by the fact that storms often struck without warning, leaving people feeling helpless and vulnerable. The unpredictability of storms made them seem like a capricious force, one that could strike at any moment and for any reason. Moreover, the scale of storms was immense, dwarfing anything humans could create or control. This scale made storms seem like a force beyond human comprehension, something that could only be the work of divine beings. People often turned to rituals and offerings in an attempt to appease these forces. They believed that by pleasing the gods, they could prevent or mitigate the destructive power of storms. These rituals ranged from simple offerings of food and drink to elaborate ceremonies involving sacrifices and prayers. The hope was that by showing respect and deference to the divine, they could avoid the wrath of the storm. This fear of storms and the belief in their divine origins had a profound impact on ancient societies. It shaped their religious beliefs, their cultural practices, and even their daily lives. People lived in constant awareness of the power of the storm, and this awareness influenced everything from their architecture to their agricultural practices. The fear of storms was a constant presence, a reminder of the limits of human power and the vast, unpredictable forces of nature. This fear also fostered a sense of community, as people banded together to weather the storms and protect each other from their destructive power. Rise of weather priests describe individuals who claimed the ability to negotiate with sky gods. In many ancient cultures, the role of weather priests emerged as a response to the unpredictable and often devastating forces of nature. These individuals were not merely religious figures but also community leaders who claimed a unique connection with the sky gods. They believed that through rituals, prayers, and offerings, they could influence the weather, particularly storms, to protect their communities. Their authority was derived from a combination of spiritual insight, knowledge of natural patterns, and the ability to inspire faith in others. Weather priests often held a deep understanding of local weather patterns, which they used to bolster their claims of divine negotiation. For instance, in some agricultural societies, they would predict the onset of rainy seasons or droughts, using this knowledge to guide planting and harvesting. This practical wisdom, combined with their spiritual role, made them indispensable. They performed elaborate ceremonies, often involving dances, chants, and sacrifices, to appease the sky gods and ensure favorable weather. These rituals were not just about control but also about maintaining a harmonious relationship with the natural world. The social status of weather priests varied widely. In some communities, they were highly respected and held significant political power. Their predictions and rituals were taken seriously, and their advice was sought in times of crisis. In other societies, their influence was more limited, and they operated on the fringes of mainstream religious practices. Despite these differences, the common thread was their claim to a special relationship with the forces of nature. This claim was powerful because it addressed a fundamental human need, the desire to understand and control the unpredictable. The rituals performed by weather priests were often elaborate and symbolic. They might involve the use of specific tools, such as staffs or drums, which were believed to have spiritual significance. Offerings to the sky gods could include food, animals, or even precious metals. The priests would often wear distinctive clothing or masks to signify their role as intermediaries between the human and divine realms. These rituals were not just about invoking the gods, but also about reinforcing the social order and community cohesion. By participating in these ceremonies, community members felt a sense of collective purpose and shared destiny. Ritual mechanics outline how storm rituals were performed using sound, fire, water, and rhythmic movements. Ancient cultures often turned to rituals to control or appease storms, employing a variety of elements to interact with the forces of nature. Sound played a significant role in these rituals, with communities using drums, bells, and chanting to create powerful, rhythmic noises. The belief was that the loud, consistent sounds could disrupt or redirect the energy of the storm. For instance, in some African traditions, large drums were beaten in specific patterns to mimic the thunder, aiming to communicate with the storm spirits and persuade them to move away from a village. Similarly, in parts of Europe, church bells were rung vigorously during storms, not just to warn the community but also to ward off the storm's destructive power. Fire was another crucial element in storm rituals, often used to create smoke and light that could be seen from a distance. The smoke was thought to carry messages to the storm gods, while the light could guide the storm away or signal for its mercy. In some cultures, bonfires were lit on hilltops during storms, with participants dancing around the flames to create a spectacle that would catch the attention of the storm spirits. The heat and light from the fire were also believed to have a physical effect on the storm, potentially weakening it or changing its path. In other traditions, small fires were lit inside homes, with the smoke directed out through specific openings to carry prayers and offerings to the sky. Water, ironically, was also used in storm rituals, despite the obvious dangers of combining it with lightning. In some cases, water was sprinkled or poured in specific patterns around the home or village, creating a symbolic barrier against the storm. This could involve tracing lines in the dirt with water or creating small pools that reflected the sky, aiming to confuse or distract the storm. In other rituals, water was boiled and the steam directed towards the storm, with the belief that the rising steam could carry prayers and offerings upwards. Additionally, rhythmic movements were a common feature of storm rituals, with participants engaging in synchronized dances, stomps, or claps to create a unified, powerful energy. These movements were often accompanied by chanting or singing, with the rhythm and repetition thought to have a hypnotic or persuasive effect on the storm. The coordinated efforts of the community were believed to amplify the ritual's power, with the collective energy focusing the intentions of the participants and directing them towards the storm. Global rainmaker traditions, present examples from African, Asian, and American cultures practicing weather control. Across the globe, various cultures have developed unique traditions to influence the weather, particularly rain. These practices, often rooted in ancient beliefs, continue to thrive in many communities today. In Africa, for instance, the Himba people of Namibia perform intricate rituals to summon rain. They believe that rain is a gift from their ancestors, and they communicate with these spirits through offerings and chants. A central figure, often a respected elder, leads these ceremonies, which involve the entire community. The rituals include the burning of specific herbs and the creation of symbolic patterns in the sand, all aimed at pleasing the ancestral spirits and encouraging them to bring rain. In Asia, rainmaking traditions are equally vibrant. In Thailand, monks play a crucial role in rainmaking ceremonies. They chant sacred texts and perform rituals to invoke the rain gods. These ceremonies are often held during times of drought, and the monks are seen as intermediaries between the human world and the divine. Similarly, in India, farmers in certain regions perform rituals involving the worship of rain deities. They offer prayers, flowers, and sometimes even sacrifices to appease these gods and ensure a good harvest. These practices are deeply embedded in the cultural fabric and are passed down through generations. In the Americas, indigenous communities have their own set of rainmaking traditions. The Hopi people of the southwestern United States, for example, perform elaborate rain dances. These dances involve intricate movements, songs, and the use of traditional instruments. The Hopi believe that these dances help to restore balance to the natural world and bring much-needed rain. In Brazil, some indigenous tribes perform rituals involving the burning of specific plants and the recitation of ancient chants. These rituals are believed to call upon the spirits of the rain and ensure its arrival. Each of these traditions reflects a deep understanding of the natural world and a respect for the forces that govern it. Sacred weather tools explain the symbolic objects used in ceremonies such as drums, masks, smoke, and effigies. In many ancient cultures, drums were more than just musical instruments. They were powerful tools believed to influence the weather. The rhythmic beats were thought to mimic the sounds of thunder, calling upon storm spirits or deities to bring rain or disperse clouds. Different drumming patterns could signify various intentions, such as summoning gentle showers or warding off destructive storms. The size, material, and design of the drums often held symbolic significance, with some crafted from materials believed to have a direct connection to the elements, like animal skins or specific types of wood. Masks were another integral part of weather-related rituals, serving as a means to communicate with or impersonate weather spirits and deities. These masks were often intricately designed, incorporating elements that represented natural phenomena like lightning, rain, or wind. For instance, masks adorned with feathers might symbolize the wind, while those with reflective surfaces could represent lightning. The wearer of the mask was believed to embody the spirit or deity, allowing them to intercede on behalf of the community. The act of donning the mask was a sacred process, often involving purification rituals and chants to invoke the spirit's presence. Smoke played a crucial role in ancient weather ceremonies, acting as a medium to carry prayers and offerings to the heavens. The type of smoke used could vary, with some cultures preferring the smoke from specific plants or resins believed to have spiritual significance. The direction and movement of the smoke were carefully observed, as they were thought to indicate the spirit's responses or the impending weather changes. In some rituals, smoke was used to create symbolic shapes or patterns in the sky, which were believed to influence the weather patterns. The act of burning offerings and watching the smoke rise was a deeply spiritual experience, fostering a sense of connection between the community and the natural world. Effigies, or symbolic representations of weather deities or spirits, were often crafted for weather-related rituals. These effigies could take various forms, from simple wooden carvings to elaborate sculptures made from natural materials. They were believed to embody the spirit or deity, allowing the community to interact with and influence the weather. The creation of an effigy was a sacred process, involving rituals and prayers to invoke the spirit's presence. Once completed, the effigy would be used in ceremonies, such as being paraded through the village or placed in a specific location to attract or repel certain weather patterns. The effigy's treatment and eventual disposal were also carefully ritualized, ensuring the spirit's continued favor and protection. Political power of stormcallers show how rulers relied on these figures to legitimize authority. In many ancient societies, the ability to control or predict storms was a powerful tool for rulers to assert their authority. Stormcallers, often seen as intermediaries between the human world and the divine, held significant political sway. Their rituals and ceremonies were not just about weather manipulation but also about reinforcing the ruler's legitimacy. By associating themselves with these powerful figures, rulers could claim divine favor and reinforce their right to govern. This connection between stormcallers and political power was a common thread in many cultures, from the ancient Mesopotamians to the indigenous peoples of the Americas. Rulers often employed stormcallers to perform rituals that would bring rain during droughts or calm storms that threatened their lands. These rituals were public spectacles, drawing large crowds and reinforcing the ruler's connection to the divine. The success of these rituals, whether real or perceived, bolstered the ruler's image as a benevolent and powerful leader. For instance, in some African societies, rainmakers were highly respected and held positions of influence within the community. Their ability to bring rain was seen as a direct result of their spiritual power, which in turn legitimized the ruler's authority. The political power of stormcallers was also evident in their role as advisors to rulers. Their knowledge of weather patterns and natural phenomena gave them insights that were valuable for decision-making. Rulers often consulted stormcallers before making important decisions, such as when to plant crops or go to war. This consultative role further cemented the stormcaller's influence and, by extension, the ruler's legitimacy. In some cases, stormcallers were even involved in the coronation ceremonies of new rulers, symbolically transferring divine approval from one leader to the next. Moreover, the rituals performed by stormcallers were often intricate and required specialized knowledge. This exclusivity added to their mystique and power. Rulers capitalized on this by presenting themselves as the only ones capable of understanding and harnessing these complex rituals. This created a sense of dependency among the populace, who looked to the ruler and the stormcallers for protection and prosperity. The interplay between political power and spiritual authority was thus a delicate dance, with both parties benefiting from the arrangement. The ruler gained legitimacy, while the stormcallers gained influence and resources. This symbiotic relationship was a cornerstone of many ancient societies, shaping their political and cultural landscapes. Consequences of failed rituals describe punishments, executions, and accusations when storms did not change. In many ancient cultures, the failure of rituals designed to control or appease storms was met with severe consequences. These rituals were often seen as a direct line of communication with the gods or spirits, and their failure could be interpreted as a sign of divine displeasure or human incompetence. The punishments for such failures varied widely, but they often included public humiliation, exile, or even execution. The severity of the punishment usually depended on the perceived importance of the ritual and the extent of the storm's damage. Accusations were a common occurrence when storms did not change as expected. Often, the blame would fall on the ritual leaders or those believed to have performed the rituals incorrectly. In some societies, this could lead to a cycle of accusations and counter-accusations, as individuals tried to shift the blame away from themselves. The accused might be subjected to trials or ordeals to determine their guilt. These trials could be physical, such as carrying hot stones or walking on hot coals, or they could involve divination and other forms of supernatural intervention. Executions were not uncommon in cases where the failure of the ritual was seen as particularly egregious. The method of execution could be as varied as the cultures themselves. Some societies might drown the accused, symbolically returning them to the watery realm of the storm gods. Others might burn them at the stake, believing that the fire would purify the community of the taint of failure. In some cases, the entire family of the accused might be punished, reflecting the communal nature of many ancient societies. The consequences of failed rituals extended beyond the immediate punishment of the accused. They could lead to a loss of faith in the ritual leaders and the religious system as a whole. This could, in turn, lead to political instability and social unrest. In some cases, it might even lead to the rise of new religious movements or the adoption of new rituals. The fear of these consequences often served as a powerful motivator for ritual leaders to ensure the success of their rituals, no matter the cost. Scientific reinterpretation. Explain how climate cycles occasionally aligned with rituals, reinforcing belief. Ancient cultures around the world developed intricate rituals aimed at controlling storms, often tied to their agricultural cycles and survival. These rituals were not just about appeasing gods but also about understanding and interacting with the natural world. Interestingly, some of these rituals coincided with natural climate cycles, which might have reinforced the belief in their effectiveness. For instance, in many agricultural societies, rainmaking rituals were performed during dry seasons. These rituals often involved dances, chants, and offerings to deities associated with rain. What's fascinating is that many of these rituals were conducted at times when natural climate cycles, like the El Niño Southern Oscillation, were likely to bring rain. This coincidence could have made the rituals seem effective, strengthening the belief in their power. Similarly, rituals to avert storms were often performed during seasons prone to storms. In coastal communities, for example, rituals might involve appeasing sea gods to calm the waters. These rituals often coincided with the natural ebb and flow of storm seasons, making them seem effective. Over time, this alignment of rituals with natural climate cycles could have reinforced the belief in the ritual's efficacy. Moreover, the cyclical nature of these climate events provided a predictable pattern that ancient people could observe and adapt to. They might not have understood the scientific reasons behind these cycles, but they could see the patterns. This observation could have led them to develop rituals that aligned with these cycles, further reinforcing their belief in the ritual's power. It's a fascinating example of how ancient people interacted with and understood their environment. As we wrap up our journey into the fascinating world of ancient weather engineers, let's recap what we've uncovered. These ancient cultures weren't just at the mercy of the elements. They developed intricate rituals and practices to influence the weather, particularly storms. From the rain dances of Native American tribes to the cloud seeding rituals of ancient China, these practices were born out of a deep understanding of nature and a desire to protect their communities. Imagine the determination and ingenuity it took for these ancient people to observe, experiment, and develop methods to interact with something as powerful and unpredictable as the weather. It's a testament to human resilience and creativity. Who knows? Maybe some of these ancient practices hold clues that could inspire modern weather control techniques. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which ancient weather engineering practice fascinated you the most? Share your insights in the comments below. And if you're curious to dive deeper into the mysteries of ancient technologies, stay tuned. In our next video, we'll be exploring the enigmatic ancient devices that seem to defy the laws of physics. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, Maybe you'll uncover the next big ancient mystery. Thanks for watching.